Oh, it's my life. It's like,
Yay.
I should actually just fold this down. Maybe that's enough to see. Chaos. Maybe not. Okay. I'm like, I put us live, and then I'm get short. Oh, my Lanta.
Your screen is way brighter than mine, but I don't think that matters.
You can change it. You can go into StreamYard and click the settings. Hey, everyone, if you're joining us here, I will later, man. I swear I'm working on ribbon. Chaos. ADHD is Strong with Genevieve tonight on Wednesday at 8 p.m. for our Unbridled Live. It is going to be a fun time. Drinking some wine and talking about mental health. Do we like this view or are we feeling this view?
I like the close-ups kind of, actually, I think. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Close-up it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. If anyone's watching us,
please,
can y'all just
like it? Make a comment. Let us know what you're thinking, what you're seeing. Let us know which perspective you like. Do you like the wide view or do you like the close-ups where you could see each and every one of my forehead wrinkles? So let us know which one you prefer.
So also a note, if you're a subscriber of our channel, you will get alerts 30 minutes before we go live every time we go live. And that means that you can follow us easier because you have a link sent to your email for you to watch our video.
Joy is here with us. Hi, Joy.
Hey, Joy. Thank you so much for joining us on YouTube, Joy. I know it's a little bit difficult. So StreamYard actually has a public notice that they've been having issues over the past 24 hours with Facebook sharing. I actually went to Facebook and tried to create a separate live event, and it also will not let me do it directly. So there's a whole issue right now with that. So we appreciate you guys coming onto YouTube to watch us.
Oh, we got Kenny. Hi, Kenneth.
We got Kenny, we got Joy, we got Tom.
Thomas says, how's Remington's body weight? Your audio sounds great. Oh, thanks for the audio feedback, Tom. I appreciate it. Remington's body weight is still fat.
He's still fat. He's fluffy.
Still a hippo. Oh my gosh, that too. He's just blown up in every way he could possibly blow up. Weight-wise, fluffiness-wise, he literally has a full-on goat beard down there.
Remy being the voice of positivity here. Kenny. Kenny saying, Tom, don't shame Remy. He looks amazing.
Thank you, Kenny.
No pony shaming around here.
Oh, yeah. I shame him enough as it is. That's okay. We literally have a muzzle in the mail today from Amazon.
Are you serious?
I found a cute little mint blue muzzle. Literally, it's his color. So I was like, okay, well, that's going in the cart.
I'm so glad that we don't treat human kids the same way that we treat ponies. If my mom was like, Jen, you're eating too much McDonald's, and orders a mint green muzzle, and she's like, here.
Just force you to eat your French fries slower.
It's so funny. What are you drinking tonight?
Oh, okay. I think this is the first time that I'm drinking this one for the show. It is another dark horse. So our liquor store typically just carries a lot of dark horse and 14 hands. I wasn't feeling the 14 hands tonight. I felt like I'd never seen the burgundy one before. It's just a Cabernet Sauvignon. I can never say that right. But anyway, it's a very dark, dry red wine. And the first sip I took was very kind of bitter. But
sorry, Thomas. Glad she just indicted herself on finances. Why? Because of wine? What?
I have no idea what he's talking about.
This is an $11 bottle of wine.
He might be talking about the Amazon cart.
Oh. Well, I'm that way too. Yeah. I have an active Amazon cart where I'm like, I don't need this now, but if I still need this in 4 hours, I need this.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I typically made myself wait 24 hours. But after that, it's free game, right?
All right, I'm midway with making this ribbon, so I need a second. You're gonna hear me stapling some stuff.
That's okay.
Got my streamers.
They're so long.
I'm wondering if I should do the black in the front or if I should do orange in the front. What do we think? Because I can do it the 3 black. Y'all can give me feedback here while I'm making the Gobbler Games ribbons.
Well, that
Yeah.
depends. Is the primary color of the actual round portion of the ribbon, is that black or is it like kind of 50-50?
It's like that. Well, hang on. I just chucked my center.
I was going to say, it's
Like,
not going
what?
to be like that.
That's
It's like
not
50-50.
very... Yeah, it's like 50-50.
Then I would say like orange in the front,
I feel
probably.
You can continue talking. Give me 2 seconds and I will
I would say orange in the front, but honestly, I would absolutely be open to you switching it up and doing
like
orange in the front for some and then black in the front for others.
Oh,
because if you're
dodgy.
Yeah, if you're at all like me, you like variety and you're
This
also
is true.
not good at making decisions.
Also true.
So why not just do both?
Why make a decision when
why make a
just-
decision at all? That's how I
Perfect.
feel.
Okay. So now that it's stuck together, it's going to look like that,
Oh,
y'all.
it's beautiful.
Which
That's
is
gonna
pretty
be
cool.
amazing.
These are huge platter ribbons. I was thinking about doing, I was like, oh, maybe I should do like normal size competition ribbons. But y'all have blown me away with the Gobbler Games entries. Like, it is just like, I did not expect to have so much support. So I was like, I guess Genevieve is giving up the rest of her PTO to make this happen.
How many entries do you have in?
We're up to 33, I think. 33, 34.
Nice. Oh my gosh. Last I heard we were at 17, so this is fantastic
17
news.
and 22, and then today it just was crazy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now I'm one of those people that has to make decisions about when to stop, the entries to make sure we have enough time.
How many lanes are we limited to at
4 lanes at this indoor?
Okay.
So it's quite large, honestly. It's 250 feet by 180, which is pretty big for an indoor heated. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited about that, but you guys hear me. I'm like, it's warm when you have to work the entire competition. But yeah, it's 180 is apparently not big enough to host like 4 lanes. So just to have 210, I think, is the minimum. Joy, you may get more if USMGA cancels individuals.
Oh.
That's true, but I only have enough room for another 4 pairs. So if you guys are interested in going to Gobbler Games, you got to get your entries in ASAP to make sure that I have space for you. And I'm going to, hopefully, everyone's going to be super nice to the organizers because I'm going to try to pitch getting this date locked down for future years. And then we can all actually plan around it, which will be huge.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Preferably
yeah,
not the same weekend as Thanksgiving because I know my family is going to be very mad at me for missing Thanksgiving. I haven't even told them yet. They're probably going to find out tonight while watching the live stream. Sorry, Mom. I did a thing. I signed up for Gobbler Pairs. I'll see you for Christmas.
So I am drinking this. What is it called? I gotta make it. It's called Tribute.
Ooh, like
Hunger Games. Like,
yeah,
I'm a tribute. But I liked that it has it's a stamped glass bottle, which I thought was really cool. I don't know. And I've been into Pinot Noir. To be honest, I know nothing about wine, so I don't even know what Pinot Noir means. But it's been the red Pinot Noir has been really good lately. I feel like it's like a good mid line. It's not too dry and it's not sweet.
Yeah, I feel like it's a nice little midway wine.
Is there room in steady pairs? I can make room. If you are willing to ride, Kenny, I have somebody who needs a partner. So I just need your entry ASAP. And I am drinking out of a sloth mug because my wine glass is terrifying and I knock it over half the time. And the goblet that I had last,
that was
cauldron,
intense, man.
I think it's going to go and be a pot now for a plant. It's a little big. But all right.
Super exciting. Lots of people are going to be there, sounds like. So that's awesome.
It is. Yeah. And Kenny, definitely get your entry in soon, please. Even if you don't pay, that's fine. I just need payment by November 10th, but I do need entries in so I can plan and coordinate and know when to cut it off so that nobody feels left out.
Good call.
All right. Well, the topic today, which I'm passionate about, and I think I'm interested to see what some feedback would be, is to talk about mental health in horses, horseback riding, competition, mental health as an adult or as a student, right? Where you're multitasking so much. And just in general, being cognizant of your energy reserves and how you're pacing yourself and managing your time and not overdoing it, which is something that Genevieve, who has all of these interests, you have to be really cognizant of not overdoing it, really. And I think a lot of, times we compete horses as kids and we just have the freedom to kind of come and go. And then you graduate school and you get out of college and you start working a full-time job, or maybe you have multiple jobs. And now I have horses and I have the financial burden of horses. And how do you balance all of it and not let it become a negative in your life,
Mhm.
be something that you're still positive and passionate about? So I was curious if anyone has any thoughts that they want to put in the comments as we go, talking about, like, what do you do as a best practice to manage your time, right? How do you not get too exhausted by owning horses, by competing? How do you manage coming back from competition and not, I don't know. Sometimes I just feel really tired. I think especially in like the summer months where it's really hot. I'm usually riding like 3 divisions. So I'm riding out there for 8 hours. And how do you get back into a roll of things? Like, anyone
Right.
have any thoughts on that?
It's definitely exhausting. I know for me, I started this whole equestrian thing as an adult, and I had already kind of learned to balance my school, college, as well as my full time job, as well as I was already in a relationship. And then I brought horses into the mix. So I'm kind of, I feel like, backwards from you, but I still, in the same sense, struggle with self care and making sure that I take off work the appropriate amount of hours the week before or the week after. And I'm still trying to figure out how to balance that appropriately for me,
Mhm.
because I'm the one packing my entire trailer for 2 people, 2
Yes.
horses, and a dog. And I'm thankfully, Thomas has started driving for us. So I don't have to worry about that stress. He's the driver now. We're good. But it's everything up until we get there. And then as soon as we get home, I have to unpack. If it was a rainy weekend, I have to I have to strip the entire trailer out the very next day, let it all dry out, etc. Like, it's a lot of work,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like a part-time job. So I'm really excited to hear what other people have to say about how to manage that stress.
I
There's good
think,
stress.
like, packing for the competition, right? I got to a point, and mom may be watching here, and shout out, because she usually puts a lot of time aside on like Thursday nights and pulls the whole barn together and, putting hay and shavings in, etc.
Hmm.
But yeah, horse hangovers are brutal.
Mondays are the worst. And
Shannon,
if I can
same.
take off, I do 100%,
Yep.
but I can't always take off because I'm an hourly employee, not a
Hmm.
salary employee. So it just makes it even worse because I take off Friday to drive to the competition. I can't just take a 4-day weekend, every other week.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I can't afford the hobby. So it's
I
it's
think,
tough.
so Joy had a comment. I used to run a huge barn, which is very exhausting by itself. I ended up moving on from that and getting a regular job, and I'm less tired.
Mm,
Yeah. That was a consideration, I think, for me when I was growing up and had the opportunity to buy and sell horses and, was competent as a rider. And I'm like, well, do I want to make this a profession? Do I want to do this professionally? And would I enjoy it? Sure. But horseback riding, particularly in culture nowadays, it's such a thankless job. I think as a trainer, even operating like a boarding facility, you don't have the same gusto and parents kind of sending their kids to be working students to take some of the burden away, and people like devoting that kind of hours to really just like training and the tutelage under a trainer that would help offset some of the burden. I think a lot of times it becomes, everything is so structured and becomes so business like that as a manager of a facility or as a trainer, like, you are the one who's dedicated with finding the resources to then take some of the support off, and you just don't make enough profit to really make that make sense a lot of the time. It's
right.
very difficult to make a living that way.
Joy says, you guys probably don't get home at 2 a.m. like we do. We do not, Joy, and I
So
don't
true.
know how you do it. I honestly
Yes.
cannot imagine.
And we just actually had a interview with Michelle, from Canada, And so
Mhm.
she's regularly doing like 10, 12 hours, 14-hour drives for the competitions. And it was similar. I mean, she talked about kind of pacing yourself and also appreciating like the time after competition. And I think that was a big takeaway that when I was thinking about this, right? Like prioritizing mental health, your energy reserves, and particularly going into and leaving a competition. How do we, is she retired? I don't think so.
We didn't talk about that.
Yeah. As my understanding that at least at some point she was working
She's
in the education system. So I believe
right.
so.
Right.
Yeah.
'Cause she's been doing this for 20 years, she said, basically
Yeah.
started 2020, and she used to be a teacher.
Yep.
So,
And Joy, you're right though. I mean, there's so
yeah,
many riders that do have to go to work in the morning, and you're right, 2 a.m. and you're rolling into work, and it's like, man, why are we doing this, right? I think we just get, for me, it's like that holiday that you look forward to, the competition. Like you
right.
go through your weeks or your months, and it like those are like the milestones for me throughout the year, where I'm looking at the progress of my horse, my progress, my endurance. Like I like to walk away from the competition, even though like we're all tired, right? That day and the next like 24 hours, kind of debriefing in my head, like how did it go? How was my horse? How was my fitness too? Like how did I hold up over the Saturday? How was my health looking?
Mhm.
Um, and doing it like from a point of trying to be a little bit more appreciative of the fact that I'm able to go out and do these things and
Right.
try to take positive lessons away from how the weekend went. I
Right.
think instead of like stepping away from it and then dreading existence. Like
Yeah.
there's got to be a middle ground.
Right. Right.
No, it definitely, so I remember looking back, and my mom would definitely recall this. I got to get her in here.
I
But
know. We need some
I'm like,
comments from
where is
Linda.
she?
Did you text her?
I had messaged her earlier, but time is elusive to the Aaron's clan. So
Right. Joy says, don't make any major decisions about your horses in the first few days after the competition. Yeah, just to let like the dust settle, because sometimes you have a bad time out there and you want to blame the pony sometimes because they act differently in the competition setting than they do at home. I mean, you can
exactly.
get really frustrated and upset with your pony for not handling something the way you thought that they should have. Because you would sell those, because I would sell them all Monday morning.
No,
Joy, no, you wouldn't.
not every time.
No, you wouldn't.
Um, yeah. I mean, I'm really appreciative looking back because I have like autoimmune issues. I had really serious Lyme's disease when I was in my teens years, like 16, 17. And it was like crossing the blood-brain barrier. So I had like really bad amnesia. I couldn't remember things. I'd like be driving on the wrong side of the road, and it was bad. It was very, very foggy. And so I was on high-powered antibiotics, and just like that whole kind of period, I dealt with such severe exhaustion, and I had for like 2 years prior, and that's part of the reason I had such severe Lyme's disease is it was misdiagnosed for quite a while. But I was exhausted. Like I would go ride because I was competing it the whole time. I have competed since I was in my early teens. And my poor mom like would know that I would ride, and then I would just run to the trailer or the car, and I would take a nap, and I'd get up and I'd ride and I'd take a nap, and half the time I couldn't even volunteer, and she'd have to sub in for me because I just did not have the energy reserves to make it through. And then I would be sick Monday morning, like
Mm,
every time. I'd be sick Monday through like the next Friday with like a cold or something. My immune system had just got hit so hard. So you have quite back to Joy's comment here. We always say, and she's referencing Joy's comment, but we always say you have to quit after a good session. The same goes for selling ponies.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's not a bad point. But yeah, having like the Lyme's issue, and then I started to recover with Lyme's because I had gotten into bodybuilding and health. And then I got hit with Graves' disease. So it's an autoimmune disease that attacks your thyroid. And for me, like again, with the disease, it like spins you up too fast. And then once they remove your thyroid, it kills you. Like you're just exhausted for the next year as they level out all your medication. And so I went from being exhausted all the time to being okay to being exhausted all the time. That was a solid like 6-year period of my life where you're kind of dealing with the depression that goes with either when you're on beta blockers for Graves' disease, like you're exhausted, you just feel down. And you just feel, because you're tired all the time, you start to feel the depression that comes with not having the energy to do the things that you want to do. And so there are people, right, that have chronic conditions, diseases, whatever it is, and they still are passionate about horses, and they find their release and their joy in going out there and spending time with the horses. And I think it's important to be cognizant, one, that if you're capable of going out there and riding for an entire weekend, like it is a blessing. There's so many people that honestly can't do it, or that maybe really struggle to accomplish that. So we should walk away from the competition and be like, okay, was rough.
Let's feel grateful.
I'm kind of grateful that I got to do that. I mean, I think that was a huge turning point for me, is to start assessing where I'm sitting, and also being more cognizant of like energy in my daily life and like what you're projecting externally, like as far as trying to lift other people up, but also like where you're sitting with how much you're giving of yourself and how tired maybe you're sitting. So I have a list of 10 things that you can do to help prioritize your mental health while competing horses. That kind of segues into the very first one, is prioritizing self-care. Yes. Right? Which is huge.
Which we touched on a little bit.
Yes.
About taking off work the day before or the day after, just to make sure you're ready to jump right back into the groove of things and be the best person that you can be.
Prioritizing sleep is huge.
Yes.
Make sure that you're getting enough sleep. Life is really fun at 2 a.m, but it is not fun the next day at 7 when you got to get up. So
I don't think life's ever fun at 2 a.m.
Really, I was one of those creative people, like 2 a.m, I would just be drawing or painting, and then the next day was rough.
I'm done at 10 p.m. and honestly don't expect to see me before 7. Like I literally need my sleep. Oh my gosh, Thomas is blowing up. Okay, so Thomas said #Remington saves lives. I don't know what he means by that. And then he goes on to say, when you feel bad, buy a pony, not medical advice. And he is.
Carly, you just froze. No, I hope that's just for me. If it is, she was saying he is right, because buying ponies does cure depression. Temporarily, at least.
Hey, I'm back.
Are you back?
I'm back. I was going to say, Tom's not wrong, because literally I bought Poppy and I've been happy ever since. So Linda says I'm taking off after the New Jersey competition. That is a good point, because that was a really long trip for us specifically. And Linda definitely needs to take more time off than she already does.
Yes.
Thomas says you can sleep when you're dead. I disagree.
That is a poor perspective, sir.
Disagree. Oh, yeah, I froze. Sorry about that. And then Kenny says, facts, Thomas, sleep is for the weak.
You notice that the men are the ones that are posting this?
Must be a guy thing.
So right. Self-care needs to be at the forefront. Make sure that you're getting enough sleep. Maintain a good diet. Diet is huge. And particularly when you're competing, eating enough food frequently enough, right? That I think is a big concern. There's a lot of times that people who maybe get show nerves will go out there, and because they're nervous, they don't eat before, and then they compete, and now they're overthinking what just happened, and they don't eat. And make sure that you bring snacks that are palatable to you and eat throughout the day. It'll make sure get enough protein, right, Joy? Enough protein. Eggs are huge. I always eat eggs before I compete. Like in the morning, I get something with eggs in it if I can, or maybe a protein shake. Yeah. Make sure that you're getting enough there. Protein is like one of those longer sources of energy versus just having those carbs, the white bread, etc. It just kind of like goes through you real quick.
Yeah. The men are posting sleep is for the weak, and the women are posting spend money and you'll feel better. Okay, so.
Oh my gosh.
So the next
stay hydrated. Hang on.
Oh yeah.
We got 2 more. Stay hydrated. Self-care, right?
Yes.
So So our list is get enough sleep,
Mhm.
maintain a balanced diet,
Yeah.
stay hydrated. Guys, got to drink enough water. Particularly, I found in July when we were competing, or August, like we need to make sure that there's more opportunities for people to get water while competing and water after competing. Like,
Yeah.
whatever that means. Bring enough water for you and your pony.
Yeah.
Because hydration is huge. There's nothing like waking up the next day and having just not drank enough water.
Joy says hard-boiled eggs, meat sticks, nuts,
Yeah,
cheese. Yeah, boy. I love
that
all that.
is.
Hi, Val. MA6 is the first competition I ate lunch. It was very exciting. No, Val, poor example of
But also a good
self-care.
example of changing your behavior with self-care. So
There we go. Okay, way,
some
way to make a
improvement.
change. 6 competitions in, we finally ate lunch. Oh man.
All right. Number two. Did you want to read it? You were on this.
We're on prioritize self-care. No, we're on set
Man.
realistic goals.
Yes.
That's
Setting
next.
realistic goals, right?
Yes.
Huge, right? Don't set overly ambitious goals as your next step. And I say that because I think having really ambitious goals is good. We want to have like that crazy, like pie in the sky. This is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. That's my dream. That's my goal. But what are your baby steps to get there so that you can like feel positive about yourself as you go? And I think this is huge. And I preach this to people who are working with horses. Make small enough baby steps that you can be super proud of how things went 90% of the time. So if you go out there and you're on your horse like hero who's just having a total utter meltdown, but he's letting me get on every single time. His meltdown is somewhere else, right? I need to have goals that allow me to appreciate the little successes that are out there. So when I walk away, sure, I'm like, all right, these things need a change, but there is enough positivity that I can carry it forward and still be good for him.
Yeah.
And the same for yourself, right?
Right.
What is your personal goal and how, like, maybe it's vaulting and maybe this competition you couldn't get off the ground. But were you paced with your horse? Were you running with your horse? Was your horse turning around you? Were you getting off and running beside them? Like, what are all the things that you did that are positive steps or positive changes to get towards the bigger goal? And how do we make those priorities too?
Yeah.
It's important. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I feel like that's honestly breaking down the objectives is one of the hardest things for me to do because I look at the big picture most of the time and it's like, how does this make me feel? Bad. You know what I mean? But I really have to force myself to picture and pick out the things that went well and then just give myself a little pat on the back. Have a little grace, as I like to say. Tommy teases me about that. I'm like, give yourself some grace.
A little bit.
Shannon, baby steps. Exactly.
Yes. Kenny, with Charlie, my Charlie, I have achieved every little goal with him so far at the last 3 shows, and we both have shown improvement together. Small steps. Yes.
Kenny.
And you might have like, more to work on so that you can get to the point of competition, but backing up like you're doing and just being like, all right, how do we have positive exposure? How do we go out into warm up? How do we tack? How do we stable? Those are all things that will build up to make a good horse. It's important. And it's important for us. So same thing for yourself. Exercise a little bit of grace. Maybe you were a little bit snappy on the field with your teammates, like apologize and be like, all right, but what did I do right? Even the apology or the correction can be the thing that like you can be proud of going forward. It's never too late to set that. Celebrate your achievements, no matter how small. Always. Always. Number 3. So 1, prioritizing self-care. 2, setting realistic goals. And number 3, schedule downtime. Schedule an off day.
Yeah, Genevieve. Maybe schedule some downtime for yourself every once in a while.
Just a little. Oh my gosh.
Do you do that? Do you ever do nothing? That's my question.
Yes.
You do.
It doesn't seem like it.
No.
For me, though, and I think this is the same, if you're a person who has to be mentally stimulated, I think off time for me can just be a different activity to some degree in the house that has no pressure. Yeah. So, for example, the ribbons. this was
Right.
off time for a while. And then when I get to the point where I have to do 30 of them, it starts to get to a point where I'm like, okay, it's another task.
Right. Right. Right.
But I still have painting. I still have I have other artistic things that kind of are downtime for me, or just walking the dog, watching movies with my husband, playing video games. He's
Reading
an
a book.
active, I love video games, but I don't have
Yeah.
time for it. So I just
Yeah.
watch him play them. That's like my downtime
That would be
now.
fun. I've
Just
been thinking about video games lately too. I'm like, oh, I would love to play video games. We have like no video games whatsoever. Like we don't have Nintendo, like Xbox, nothing in the house. So we'd have to like start literally from scratch.
scratch, yeah.
Right. But then it's like, oh, but wait a minute, Carly, why would you invest in something that you literally have no
No
time for?
time.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it as a way, again, where you have that no pressure atmosphere, but you're I have to stay stimulated. And then honestly, a big thing for me is books. I am an avid reader, and it's either whether it's fiction, I read fiction, nonfiction. I'm one of the weird people who can do multiple disciplines. Some people are strictly self-help, and some people are strictly fiction. I like both. So I have a reading list of both.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at my whole bookshelf. I've got a lot to read, but
I was wondering what you were looking off.
Yeah, you're staring off into the distance.
Like, what's happening?
Ironically, there's a book that's called 4,000 Weeks, and it's actually a little bit creepy because you have 4,000 weeks on this earth.
No, I can't do that.
But actually, it does make you step back and think time is precious, right? And
Yeah, that's true.
and if time is precious, and if I want to get the most out of the things that I love, like horseback riding or being with family, whatever it is, I have to be able to show up for them in an optimal way, which means I need to have the time to rest and recharge. It's so important. And we just don't categorize it as a thing to protect and to value as much as the things we accomplish.
Right.
But it's like the fuel, right? So
Val says, I love my gallop, no stress dates with my pony. It's his and my favorite thing where we bond outside the ring, trail work, etc. 100%. You need those days where you basically set up zero expectations for you and the pony. You just go for a ride. That's all you
trail
want.
rides.
Yep.
The best. I know, just trailering somewhere and getting on and just being crazy. It's so much fun. Just cantering the trail and hoping you don't run over a walker or something.
That's your problem. Kenny says it's really hard for me to relax since I'm wired to keep moving since I feel lazy when I just relax. I've been struggling with this for years. I mean, that's such a good point, Kenny. I struggle with the same thing. If I'm not doing something, I have such bad anxiety of, oh no, you're forgetting something. Oh,
Yeah.
you're supposed to be doing something. Carly, how dare you sit down and scroll through your phone for 15 minutes? But that comes back to literally the reason we're having this podcast tonight is self-care. You have to be able to recognize that, and you have to be able to tell yourself you're not being lazy. You're taking care of yourself emotionally and physically, and you're setting yourself up for success when you go to actually do something and be productive.
Yes. And I think recognizing too, when you reached your limit, whether that, don't perceive yourself as being lazy just because you hit a point in the day where you just can't keep going at that same state. Maybe you didn't sleep well the night before and it's 3 p.m. and you just got off work and you're I have so much to accomplish, but I'm snapping at people. I am just mad at the world right now, or I'm down. And a lot of times I feel when you're down and too self-reflective, either you're bored and you're not doing enough, or you're too tired and you need to just back off and be okay, how do we recharge? What do I want to do that's just going to be relaxing and have fun? Go out and groom your pony.
Yeah, Kenny's saying, what do you consider downtime? And I don't know what time you sent that, a couple minutes ago. But basically everything we were just talking about with Genevieve making the ribbons, sitting down and reading a book, just making sure you give your mental state the opportunity to recharge. Whatever it is that stresses you out or causes you anxiety around your environment, take a step back from that and allow yourself to kind of focus on something else, whether it's looking inward or outward or wherever you need to. But that's what you basically can consider downtime. And it's something different for every person.
Exactly. It should just be not meeting someone's obligation. It's time where you're doing a thing that doesn't help someone else necessarily. It just helps you.
Right. Linda
relax.
says mowing is downtime. I 100% agree with that
I
because
do too.
that's so satisfying to be able to see a big field full of grass and then just to sit on the mower and just either listen to an audiobook or listen to nothing and kind of just let yourself be silent with your own thoughts. Whatever you like to do, meditate, pray, read a book, audiobook, whatever, and just sit there on the mower and then at the end of the day you feel so accomplished because you were still being productive. I love that.
Exactly. No, and it's passive. It's just a nice, like, cleaning can be that way for some people too.
That's for me.
Caffeine.
Yeah. Yeah. Caffeine.
Caffeine imbalance. I just gotta say, not everyone can drink caffeine. I think that's a huge thing to note too. You know, when I had
Yeah.
Graves' disease, like the onset and everything, where your heart is very susceptible to stuff. You've got to be very careful what you consume, very careful of anything that kind of alters that. Caffeine isn't the answer for everybody, right? But maybe for you, it's just like a cup of tea, or maybe going out and having a soda, or having like some juice, or just something that brings you joy. For some people, that's coffee. Just the routine of it can be positive. Thomas, negative.
I don't know what he meant by that.
I think
Negative.
you,
Like
the ADHD
caffeine's
is
not for
strong in here.
everyone. Yeah.
I think with like, if you have ADHD too, and your mind goes like this, and you need to hyperfixate on an activity, like, I don't know, I have so many different things. Like, I got into needlework at one point, embroidery, like hand embroidery. I've like felting. I got into felting for a while until I stabbed myself like way too many times. And then I was like, all right. And I still want to get good at it, but I'm just not there. But for me, like, when I have a fixation, which I do, and they vary, and that's the reason I get decent at all these things, but not the best. And then I move on to the next thing. The hyperfixation. But just like, there's a drug for, I think he's talking about, and I'm going to spin it this way. He's talking about there being like fixations, or a thing that, like, when you do it, you feel joy and you get something out of it. I think
Right.
that's so important.
Right. Kenny says it felt good to get back on Dylan after our confidence dump at one of the shows. Okay. So he also said, I was finally able to trail ride and do some games last week with both ponies, and it felt great, even though it got so dark to the point where I couldn't see. Yeah, be careful out there. But I know it feels so good to just go out there and just like ride or just hang out with your ponies for an evening. That's self-care. 100%.
Honestly, I think as an adult, and this is the first time it's occurred to me how good it can be to just go out there to the barn and brush my horse.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why it took me so many years, maybe because I grew up with horses and it was always the means to an end. But like, I think it was this summer, honestly, that it really just like kind of sat with me, where I'd go out and I'd work the horses so early in the morning that it just kind of became a routine, where I'd go and I'd sit with them for a while, and I'd just sit and interact with them and try to appreciate just spending the time with them more than I think I did before.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, this is like, I think it was really good for me and the horse, to not just be, and we get so task focused, I think, in
Right.
society today.
Yeah.
I'm like, I show up at the barn, I got to get my horse ready, and then I get on my horse, I have to do X, Y, Z, and then I get off my horse, I untack, do the stalls, got to get home because I got to do.
That's so funny. I feel
Yeah.
like 2023 was also the year for me to just realize like spending time with your pony is literally just as good as being able to ride them, because after Remington's injury, I mean, we've been experiencing this since July, but I'd still obviously go out to the barn, like 3 to 4 times a week just to see him or like treat his injury or do
Yeah.
whatever that I thought I needed to do. But while I was there, I always took the time to just like brush him or just like give him belly scratches and give him pets and treats and everything like that. And you could tell that he reacted just as positively towards all of those moments that we spent together compared to when I would go catch him and then ride him and work him and, cool him down and everything.
Well, I think that's what I realized. Like, particularly when you have a horse that, and we talked about this with Michelle, which was interesting, but you have a horse that's at a mature state of conditioning. So their body stays relatively fit and you kind of work them. But it's like, do I have to work them 6 days a week for them to be optimal? And at that point, my horse is just like irritated that the only thing I want to do is work him.
Right.
He's like, what about me as a person?
Yes.
Val.
She says, go read your books in the field. Oh my gosh. I used to do that growing up. So I didn't have horses growing up. The largest animal we could keep on our property was a goat. So best believe it. I had a little field of goats. And I would go out there and I would read books with them. And I know Thomas is probably dying like of embarrassment. But that's what I did, in middle school, high school. And I
That's so
100%
yeah.
agree. If I had the opportunity these days to go out in the field and read a book with my ponies, you best believe I'd be out there.
Flip side, I'm not gonna lie. Listening to books while riding your horse.
Yes, I do that too.
That's great.
What's Linda say? Getting barn chores done is very satisfying, and slinging shit is very therapeutic. Thank you, Linda.
There are children that watch this. Thank you. Kenny, I too have ADHD and can definitely relate to the fixation thing. Current fixations are on old computers right now. I need to know how old are your computers, Kenny?
I'm sure
And a lot of people who have ADHD actually, it is true. Caffeine does make you tired. I know that like my husband, he doesn't have ADHD, but caffeine has the same effect on him. Like he just doesn't like he can drink it at 2 a.m. and go to sleep. It's just I don't understand. Oh.
Tommy, that's why he's so fat. I really don't know what you're talking about this
It's
point,
because
though.
you just sit out there and you read books to him all day and you don't ride him. I think.
Okay, fine.
All right, so number 4, right?
Yeah, here we
So number 1, prioritize self-care. Number 2, set realistic goals. Number 3, schedule downtime. Prioritize downtime, please. But number 4, this is huge.
Stay organized.
Yes, so important as an adult, as a kid, to learn how to manage time. Time is your only resource, really, at the end of the day. Like, you got to be careful with how much time you spend on any particular thing and how you prioritize your time to maximize your energy and vice versa, right? So try to and for me, I feel like planning out my day. So in the morning, I have a nice, I don't want to say a lazy morning, but my morning is like a bunch of easy tasks to build momentum to doing harder things.
Mine is exactly the same way. I'm like, okay, in the morning, I'll just sit down with my cup of coffee and go over my agenda. And I've got my little book here.
Yes.
Walk the dog. That's easy. Listen to my audiobook while I make breakfast. That's easy. And then work my way up.
I read somewhere that it's like in the mornings, if you can I think creating a routine in the morning is huge. If you're not even an organized person, have a morning routine. Start there.
Right.
You need to have a couple of tasks. Like for me, the biggest thing is I'd try to brush my teeth as soon as possible when I wake up. I don't know why, but washing my face and brushing my teeth as soon as I get up for me is all right, the day. I have shed the night and it is the day now. And it's so easy. And then I can be I did that. And it's huge and it's worth noting. I think that when you go through severe bouts of depression, and I have definitely struggled with depression at periods in my adult life that was very, very serious, having little things like that and saying, I did that is so huge because there are days that you don't feel like that's even possible. And so for you to create a routine where you just have enough simple things that you can check off as a positive, you can feel a lot better about yourself, even if you're not an organized person.
Right. Joy says, I'm not an organized person. It's a real struggle for me.
Joy, I want to know, though, if you're not an organized person, how do you start your day? I'm curious. Because it works for you. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. I'm just curious, what
and working
does
in the
work for you?
school.
Yeah.
We definitely have a routine, Joy. Val says, I'm the opposite, LOL. Too many years of restaurant years, I think. I work hard to be lazy later.
I feel like I ramp up, right? I'm my first 30 minutes of the day for sure. If I'm going to sleep in those 30 minutes, I've got to have a couple of things to get to the point of functioning. Because
I feel like Val's always just been such an energizer bunny, basically. Anytime I've hung out with Val, she's just go, 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 go. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to build my energy so that I can last as long as Val. It never works.
Oh, Joy, this is such a good point.
Oh, okay. Good. to Joyce,
God.
and then back to Kenny.
Joy. I have to put my clothes out the night before.
Yes!
Ah, that
Such a
was
good point.
life-changing for me.
Yep.
Going into office, that literally, I don't know why, if I get up in the morning, I will put on like 12 different outfits and nothing is sufficient. I don't know why. I can't decide. I'm like the polka dots or the stripes. I can't get it. Like if I do it the night before and just tell myself that's what I'm wearing, no problem. It's been decided. Competent Genevieve in the evening prior has said it's like it, I don't know.
Right. That's so true. It really helps me. Honestly, it helps me get out of bed in the morning. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I'm telling myself I'm going to the gym in the morning and the night before I don't know where the clothes are that I'm gonna wear for the morning, I basically tell myself in the morning when I wake up, it's pointless. There's no reason to even
Nope.
get out of bed because you don't even know where your clothes are.
The mental load is just way too much. Like
It's
I
too
can't do
much.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
If
if
I
I
don't, I
don't,
would spend hours trying to get dressed. Yep.
I'm telling you, I don't know why it's so hard.
What is wrong with us?
I do have a definite routine, but a lot of it happens the night before.
Absolutely. I'm the same way. Like when I
Yep.
used to have to commute into work every single day, I would literally get everything set up. My lunches would be packed in my cooler in the refrigerator, right? And then my coffee would be made, all the water would be poured except the on button. Like all I had to do when I wake up was push the on button, put on the clothes that I laid out the night before, and that was the only
It's
way I
so
made it to work on time.
important.
Yeah.
Like to optimize, even when I'm looking at like scheduling, there's a lot of times where the night before I would sit down and be like, all right, is there an important task? How do I structure this for the first like 4 hours of my day to know that it's done?
Yeah. Yeah.
Joy. I do everything I can in the barn the night before. Are you talking about before competition or just in general?
Just like in general.
Like prepping, that's so important. I agree. So that in the morning you just bring them in.
Kenny says literally the only thing that motivates me to get up is to feed my horses. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
but it is a really good point, right? There are times in life where you need to have dependence, I think, like things in life that require discipline of you.
Right.
Like there are things like horses that if you have them or your dog, like I have to get up, I have to let them out, I have to feed them. It doesn't matter like how Genevieve feels because today these things must be accomplished or I'm like hurting something else, you know?
That's so
It's
funny.
important.
That's the reason I got a dog. I'm not gonna lie. Like that's the reason I got JoJo is because I could feel like 2020 was a really tough year for
Yeah.
us. It was just
That was hard.
it was so freaking hard and I was spiraling and with work not knowing whether or not we were going to get paid
Mhm.
anymore doing our jobs. Literally the school was just like, I don't know if you're still going to get paid on time or paid at all. Like period end of story, like may the odds forever be in your favor. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to feel a little depressed. And the only way like I could get up, obviously I was working virtually, 2020 COVID.
Yeah.
So the only way I was able to get myself up in the morning, I was like, I have to get a dog so that I can go on walks with my dog. And so that's why I found JoJo on Craigslist. And he has changed my life for the better.
I'm serious. Dogs are amazing. Dogs are like that constant source of everything can be crazy, but it's happy. Why is it still happy? And what I
Right.
realized, it's happy because all it prioritizes is time with you, the present, food, water, poopies.
That's all he needs.
Maybe that's all we need too, you know?
Yeah.
As long as I have all that,
Right.
do I need to be sad?
Kenny says, I used to have a great routine in college. Now my marbles are all over the place since I graduated in May. 2020 was an awful year for me, but also a great year. Yeah, I feel like Kenny's right now, you're probably in this mode where you're just trying to figure out what life is supposed to be like now that you're an adult that's graduated college, which we've all experienced. And it takes a while to adjust. I'm not going to lie.
Getting out, like, for me, it was helpful because I got out of college and a couple of months later, I had my job and I had to be at work by 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's just like totally, for me, honestly, that's what changed me from being like the night owl creative type to mornings, like I need a morning routine because I had to be up at 4:45 every morning. It's crazy. Moving to that. Okay, so we've got prioritize self-care, set realistic goals, schedule downtime, stay organized, stay connected. That's why we're here for you guys right now with our unbridled podcast.
Social support, which is what we are. It's vital.
It is so important. And it is honestly one of the greatest things we have about our sport. You have so many people that are going through some of the same things as you that are going to show up, and you're going to see them throughout the year. Like, we have things to look forward to. Mm-hmm. And you have so many people that you can just reach out to if you do have a genuine problem. Like, reach out to somebody and talk through it, get some opinions. Like, that's so important, I think. It's good to stay connected without overburdening yourself with social obligations. So there's a difference, I think. Stay connected. Make sure that you are continuing to share with others and solicit feedback and communicate. Mm-hmm. But also, if you're in a position where you're starting to get too tired and depleted, don't force yourself out there to the point where it just takes more away from you. Mm-hmm. I think it's like a balance, at least in my life.
Yeah, and I feel like with friends and family, like, just while you're taking time for yourself, also go ahead and call your mom. Just say, hey, I haven't called my mom in 2 weeks. I'm just going to call her, talk to her while I clean the house. And that's another great way for some self-care while you're staying connected. Yep. And it is food for the soul.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be an extravagant gesture, right? Just continue reaching out, continue sharing your life experiences. A really interesting thing that I thought, who had told me this? I was on business travel, and someone was like, the best way for you to kind of recap your life in your head is every week, at the end of the week, think of one good story from your week.
Oh, that's funny.
And I thought that was really interesting because it's like, it can be anything. Like, if I was going to write a short story, like 3 pages or a page or whatever, if I was going to just like say a story about my week, what would it be? Is it about the dog chasing the squirrel? Is it about getting locked out of the bathroom? Is it like, what is it that week? And your life can then just start to be these, these highlights, these little stories that you can look back on very positively. And I feel like when I get into those places where I'm disconnected, part of it is like, I don't feel like I have anything to share. I feel like, I could be super busy, but in my head, like, none of it is at a place where I can share it with somebody. And when someone at work was like, well, do you have any stories? And I was like, no. And he's like, come on, everyone has stories. Like, you have to have something that you can share. I started to think about it, and I'm like, well, maybe I'm just not actively looking throughout the week for things that I could share to stay connected. I think that's important.
Right. Weekly. I haven't really thought of like trying to look for life stories weekly, but that's something I should definitely start doing. Thank you for sharing.
It's a neat journaling idea.
Yeah. Like, and I stopped journaling once I started college because I just got too busy. But all throughout high school, I journaled like on a daily basis almost. But yeah, I feel like that's such a great point to bring up. And I always have Google Docs up because I always have like great ideas or something that I need to write down. But that's really interesting.
And I think for me, it was interesting too, because I used to be one of those people when I journaled, it would be musings, like philosophical musings of life. But like, what about stories about just like silly things or good things or an interaction with my horse? Like, you can actually boil it down to the point where you start seeing life a little bit differently when you go through your week looking for your next story to tell.
Yeah.
It's just a neat thing that someone taught me. So stay connected. So important to make sure you continue talking to people, especially when you feel really down. Find a way, tell a story, get engaged somehow. Number 6, listen to your body. Recognize when you're feeling tired. Actually acknowledge that it's a thing, because it's really important for you to understand, like, whether you're just tired because you had a long day or whether you're starting to hit a point of like fatigue, because people can experience burnout. I think you can in anything. You can definitely in horseback riding, like any other endeavor. When am I getting to a point where maybe it's important for me to step back, breathe, maybe go back to groundwork with my horse? Like,
right.
just doing stuff with them so that it reinvigorates me to go back out and practice again. Like, particularly with games too. I feel like when you've been doing games for like 20 years, you get to a point sometimes you're like, practice, like, okay, like I should appreciate it more. But there are times where I'm just like, I don't know. I'd rather not.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
I think that it's really important to step back and maybe like breathe for a minute so you can come back with like a profound appreciation for it.
Kenny says therapy is very beneficial. I've been doing therapy for a year now, and it's definitely helped me manage my emotions. 100%. I cannot support therapy enough. Um, it's life changing, and they really help you set up just personal goals for yourself and I honestly feel like everyone needs their own therapist that they can talk to on a weekly basis at least to just be like, hey, this is going on in my life, can you help me process this emotionally, can you help me figure out how I need to handle this with other people, whether it's a problem you're having or facing with maybe a family member or a friend or just a social way, because there are appropriate ways to handle things and there are inappropriate ways to handle things, and having a therapist there is just, it's so so beneficial. Genevieve, you're not freezing anymore, I don't think. Your mom said
I
you were
was
freezing
waiting.
for a second, but your voice was fine, it was coming through fine, it was just the screen.
So I'm going to be changing my Wi-Fi because I've been having this issue lately. My Wi-Fi is weird. It meters based on how many connections it has. And I find if I don't, I was sitting here and I'm like, should I kick my husband off the PlayStation? Like, it doesn't matter that much.
No, you're completely cleared up now, and your audio was coming through fine, so I didn't say anything.
That's all good.
Shannon
Permanently
says
tired.
permanently tired. Yeah.
It's like if you're permanently tired, definitely see a doctor. I
Mhm.
was really tired. I had to see 4 doctors before I was diagnosed with my Graves' issue. So it is important to go get looked at. And otherwise, if you're permanently tired, like start putting some things in place to regiment that and try to rebound, right?
Mhm.
You can come out of it. I just want to say that because I know when I went through a state of being like permanently tired, it was really depressing because you just felt like that was going to be your existence for the rest of your life. But it can get better as you just got to look forward to what can be. Need that better help scholarship. I know.
Sponsorship.
Sponsorship. Yeah.
Be that better help sponsorship.
No, but
Kenny's.
it is true. Like therapy. And that honestly is one of my points here. That was number 8.
Oh yeah.
So we're close. Wait, listen to your body. So important. If you get tired or if you're genuinely fatigued and like to the point of burnout, make sure that you are taking action and not just ignoring it and powering through because you will get to a point where it is too much. You will.
Mhm.
Number 7, cross train. So
Mhm.
huge. Physical fitness to combat the feels.
Dude, I have seasonal depression.
Me too.
And last year, after I dedicated my to make my physical health a priority, all of a sudden everything fell into place when it came to my emotional and mental health.
Yeah.
So I had to set my body up for success, and all of a sudden Christmas wasn't hard anymore. The holidays weren't hard anymore. It
Yeah.
was like, wait a minute, where is this dark cloud that's followed me my entire life during this terrible time of year? It wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I have to keep reminding myself now, especially now that it's October and I've taken basically a month off the gym. Bad Carly, that I need to hop right back into that and set myself up for success for this time of year. 100%.
So true. I'm in the same place. Everything
Yeah.
has been so crazy with my husband's broken leg. We had gotten kind of out of the swing of the gym. It's really been hard to prioritize me in
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
because you're like trying to make sure that everything is taken care of. And he's so kind about it. And he's like, go, go, go. And I'm like, it's not something for me that feels like it's going to help, but it does.
Right.
It does. And
Right.
you've got to put that time into it. So definitely for me, that's a focus going into the holiday season. Got to keep moving your body.
Yeah. Oh, Kenny says also, I'm so happy this is the topic for the night because I was feeling really down today.
Oh,
Glad to hear this is helpful, Kenny, because this is something that we all struggle with. So,
it's so true. And honestly, I was feeling pretty tired today. Just in general, is a little bit like I made it through, but it's a good topic because it's so good to refocus and be like, okay, recalibrate. What are we going to do going forward? And number 8. So we had
This perfectly aligns with number 8.
Yeah. Prioritize self-care, set realistic goals, schedule downtime. Hair is like floating on my hand. Stay organized. Stay connected. Listen to your body. Cross-train. Physical fitness is so important. But number 8.
Seek professional help. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, consider speaking to a psychologist or a therapist, which is exactly what Kenny just said. So I feel like we already covered that.
So important. So important. Number 9, set boundaries. You got to do it.
How do you do
You got to
that,
tell them
Genevieve?
no.
How do you tell people no, Genevieve?
It's so important, though. I think for me, I can take on quite a bit if I'm here at home in my introverted state. This is a very small little office thing. It's small, okay? If I'm in my little cubby, I'm good. If you put me out there for people, like if I'm on business travel, I have a great time on business travel, but it is exhausting for me because it's a constant exertion. I'm not recharging when I'm around people a lot of times.
Right.
So like it's important to say, okay, how much of that can I handle? And like if I go away on business travel for a week, when I come back, like I am locked down for a week. Don't expect Genevieve like to show up. And I learned that I had to like say no pretty early on. Even when I was younger, my mom was so supportive of that, of being like, look, you can't volunteer, go take a nap, because I was ill at the time. But like being able to advocate for yourself and talk to people, get the support that you need so that you're not letting people down, but also set some boundaries on what you can and can't attend. It's important. And it's a learned skill. It takes time.
It definitely takes time. I still struggle with that. So I feel like I don't have very much advice to give on setting boundaries because I've never been good at it.
But number 2, set realistic goals. That can be one little tiny goal. Is just to be cognizant of it. I think that's important, right? With all these things, it's not necessarily to do it well, but if you're aware of where you're doing it well or where you're not, you're going to be more inclined to make a decision that's beneficial to you in the future.
Right.
Just be aware, you know? And number 10.
Stay passionate.
Stay passionate, guys.
Yeah. I feel like that's an easy one for us. Stay passionate with, especially when it comes to mounted games, riding ponies. You know, that's literally what we live for. That's why we go to work every day. That's why we try so hard, is honestly our passion and love for horses.
And remember why you love it. And if you're tired of certain aspects of it, reel back and find other aspects that you enjoy, right? Just like we were talking about, if you get tired with maybe doing a particular kind of practice all the time, like, okay, example, learning to vault and practicing vaulting every single day for 60 days. I got to the end of that and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is rough. Step back and like find other aspects of it that you still enjoy so that you can recalibrate and then go back with the same kind of passion that you had before. It's huge because that honestly is the motivation for all of this, right? It's like, what are you passionate about in life? And how are you making sure that you are managing all of those other inputs so that you can continue doing the thing that you love? So important. Balance is huge, guys. You can do anything in moderation, mostly, for the most part. Yeah. Buying ponies, I wouldn't advocate moderation, though. Just like buy all the ponies.
Well, yeah, as long as your barn is okay with you bringing another pony in, then bring another pony in. Yeah, it's just that easy.
Kenny, boundary setting
is also difficult for me. I tend to say yes too much. I tend to be a people pleaser since I hate letting others down.
It's true. I mean, it's a big question, right? Like letting other people down. Why are they putting that expectation on you in the first place? Is it fair for them to put that expectation on you? Do they care about you in putting that expectation on you?
Right.
And if you're letting them down because they selfishly are putting expectations on you, then you're doing the right thing for you, Kenny. So like you got to start. And that's, again, what I think books have helped me with is increasing awareness of things so that you can step back and then try to be a little bit more objective. The more that you can just be objective in life and like rationalize things as you go,
Mhm.
then you just make better decisions because you're like looking at it in a framework. You're like, all right, does this person asking me to go scrub their toilet because they love me or because they don't want to scrub their toilet? Like,
Right.
I mean, it's important to make sure that you're paying attention to why they want something from you. And then make sure that you're also balancing your needs and what you can do. Like, it's so important. So
Right. It says that's how I feel. I feel like I let others down if I am not. But that's just boundaries, Kenny. Like that's
yeah.
just knowing, that's just making sure you're taking the appropriate amount of time for yourself. It's self-care, it's knowing what you're capable of doing, and then also being able to communicate that with other people and saying, "Hey, I'm not comfortable doing that," or "Hey, I'm not available at that time. It has nothing to do with how I feel about you. I still love you. I still care about you. But this is something that I have to do for me, or this is something I cannot do for you because I have such and such." And
And it's
that's,
important like to
yeah.
be introspective people. I think people who tend to overthink things. I'm one of those people for sure, right?
Mhm.
If you overthink things, you tend to go down a thought trail and it just doesn't stop because your brain doesn't ever stop.
Right.
And for me, part of boundary setting was telling myself when it's done. Like when I have thought that through, made a decision, and I'm stepping away from it.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean that I care any less, but it means that I have to manage my resources and like spinning my wheels down a trajectory of stress and anxiety over a decision that was made doesn't help me in the long run, doesn't help them. Like be clear,
Mhm.
be upfront about things, and then just move on to the next thing. Go
Right.
fixate on your next like really interesting Windows XP install. But like
Right.
it's so much better than dreading something that really hasn't occurred.
Mhm.
It's all about boundary setting. It's hard. But that is one of our little goals going forward is to get better at that.
Yes. All
So
right. We're at an hour and
I was
6
like,
minutes.
exactly. We're at an hour. Thank you guys for listening to our TED Talk on managing your mental health and your resources, energy, and balance so that you can be your best horse loving self. Appreciate you. Thank you
Thanks
for
for coming,
hanging out with
guys.
us.
Also, don't forget, like, subscribe, and comment. But I think the most important thing right now is that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please, please, please. We have literally over 100 likes and followers on our Facebook channel. We need all of those people from the Facebook to go over to the YouTube. Even if you don't watch it on YouTube, I don't care. Please just go to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, because once we hit 100 subscribers, we will be able to release all these awesome podcasts on all the podcast platforms. We're talking Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere, everywhere you listen to a podcast, you'll be able to find us. So that's the goal that we've set for ourselves. We have to have 100 subscribers on our YouTube channel. Please go to that ASAP.
Please. And share to your page, share people, tell people to come and join us for the
Yes.
future.
Yes.
It'll be awesome, but we need 100 subscribers. So please subscribe. Beg your friends to subscribe.
Thanks
Maybe
for
I'll do a
joining us,
giveaway
guys,
next time. But
on
have a good
Wednesday.
night.
Yeah.
And
This
we'll
has
see you
been
next
awesome.
Wednesday. Yeah.
Bye. See you next
Bye.
week.
And thanks guys again for jumping over to YouTube because Facebook was all silly.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you. Like, subscribe. Okay. Good night.